Welcome to the Friends of Fantasy Benefits Baseball Podcast. I'm Justin Mason, lead fantasy writer and analyst at friendsoffantasybenefits.com. Joining me on this episode is Matt Thompson, co-owner of friendsoffantasybenefits.com and writer over at Prospects Live, one of the best places to get all your prospect information. Matt, how you doing, my friend?
Good, man. We talked about before show how busy we all are. It's good to finally get together. This is, like you, the busiest time of year for me because we are writing top 30s for everybody. So we're about halfway done, published, and about 2/3 of the way done behind the scenes. So it's nice. We're moving along nicely and making progress and getting stuff done. It's always nice. Hopefully you guys check out the site, get some prospect scouting reports and all that stuff.
It's pretty much my number one place to go get my prospect info for dynasty leagues, for any sort of writing I'm doing. So people should definitely be checking out Prospects Live and all the work Matt does over there, and following him on Twitter at MDTomp FWFB. Let's talk Cardinals because you're a big Cardinals homer. You had to be excited about their big acquisition this offseason, which was Willson Contreras, because not only do you guys add a great bat to the middle of your lineup, probably to the weakest part of your lineup, but you also put a dagger in the hearts of Cubs fans, which has got to feel even better. So what are your thoughts on Willson Contreras for fantasy as a Cardinal?
Honestly, there wasn't a better fit for the Cardinals on the board offensively anyways. Like, it was their glaring weakness. I mean, obviously no Yadier Molina is going to hurt on a lot of different fronts, but it's going to be a very much improved offense without him. I mean, as much as we have to say it, he hasn't been much of a bat the last 2.5, 3 years, really, honestly. But Contreras is, I mean, in the top 3 of offensive catchers in the game. I think you're not going to find much argument there. And I really, really like. He's a player that I used to hate because he's a real fiery kind of annoying guy. But when he's not on your teams, I have to get used to that. But I think he's really going to like winning. I think winning is going to be a big thing for him, and I think it's going to be. It's a good fit on so many different levels.
Do we care about the backup there?
Andrew Knizner and Ivan Herrera will battle it out, but no, not really. I think Contreras is good for one IL stint a year, probably play 135, 140 games. I think that's fair. I don't expect him to play any outfield because they have a lot of depth there. Well, depth. And then, Contreras is a good enough bat where he can DH on his off days too if you want him to. So I think that even benefits a little bit there. But Andrew Knizner's not very good. Ivan Herrera's got some potential, but he's not ready. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they bring in an NRI. Non-roster guy, veteran guy, kind of in camp, and between the NRI and Herrera and Knizner, they got to fill 2 spots in Memphis and 1 in St. Louis. So I figure they kind of figure that out. But no, nobody else should be 2 catcher leagues. I'm not even thinking about Knizner.
All right, let's move over to first base where we have Paul Goldschmidt, probably one of the safest guys in fantasy. Are you taking him at current cost, which is like second round for a 15-teamer?
I think the consensus is probably that he's going to take a step back again. But I mean, sure. I mean, what if he still hits at, his 2020 and 2021 levels? I think he's still pretty much a second round pick. So, I mean, the position's not as deep as it used to be. At least I think it falls off pretty good.
I think it's still pretty deep.
It is, but I think he's in the elite tier, and I think those guys run out pretty quick. And then he's going to get his chances, and he's starting to run a little bit more since he came back in these last 2 years. So, I mean, 19 stolen bases in 2 years is not nothing, and he hasn't been caught, so no reason to slow him down. So, I mean, Goldschmidt's MVP, so I wouldn't bet on him winning it this year, but, I mean, I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff either.
No, I agree with you. I'm totally fine with Goldschmidt where he's going. The only reason I may pass him up in some drafts is just because the position is so deep that you can afford to and take, maybe a third baseman or a second baseman where the drop-offs are a little bit sharper and deeper, especially later on. Right now you guys have Brandon Donovan penciled in at second base. I've gotten a lot of questions about him, like on my Fangraphs chats and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that special of a player. Do you?
I really like him. I think he's like a dirt dog kind of guy. Really, really good in OBP formats. He's going to be hitting probably second in the lineup this year. So I think that's a prime spot in front of Goldschmidt and then in front of Arenado, in front of Tyler O'Neill if he's healthy, in front of Contreras. That's a pretty good spot when you get on base at a 380 clip, 370 clip like he did last year. His defense at second base was surprisingly good. He actually won a Gold Glove, which okay, but I didn't expect him to ever do that. I followed him to the minors a lot. I saw him play a lot in the minor leagues, and I always kind of liked how he played and liked his ability to get on base and kind of cause havoc. He's always in the mix when things happen, and he proved to be that exact type of player when he came up, which was exciting. But yeah, 390 OBP last year in the majors, and in his brief stint in AAA, it was 385, and in 2021 in AAA, it was 389, and AA was 411. So I mean, it's not a fluke. He's always been given on base guy. The one thing that he won't do is, I mean, if you're looking for homers and steals, he's not going to really do that.
Yeah.
So it's not a not a stat stuffer kind of guy. But if you're in an OBP format, I would strongly shoot him up your boards. But other formats than that, I really wouldn't be clamoring to go get him, if that makes any sense. The one thing too is I think it's the second base job is his, because I don't see with the new defensive rules Nolan Gorman playing there at all, really.
Where does Gorman play then?
He DHs or gets traded, or he backs up third base and backs up first base, which on those two teams, those two spots on this team are pretty occupied.
Yeah.
But I don't think with the shift rules you can really play him at second base for an extended period. Of course, they'll get the scattered off days and stuff. And I don't know what they do with Paul DeYoung. Donovan will have the multi-position eligibility thing as well. Outfield, second base, shortstop, third base. He'll play all that, so that'd be nice for him. But yeah, so that's where I look at him. He's just a really, really good player, dude. He's fun to watch and appreciate when you see him play every day.
What about Tommy Edman? He's a guy who's got some a little bit of pop, but mostly got speed. And when he's batting leadoff, he can have a lot of value in fantasy. Do you think he can hold down that leadoff spot? And what is his prospects for fantasy this year?
I think he hits ninth right now as the team is fully constructed against right-handed pitching. Against lefties, he probably migrates up toward the top of the lineup a little bit. But this is a deep lineup. I think it might be one of the deeper lineups in the NL. I mean, 1 through 9, it's pretty good. You can see interesting players everywhere. And I think with Tommy Edman, I think you're going to get the stolen bases. I mean, he had a pretty identical season last year, right? I mean, numbers-wise to the year before. So I think it'd be crazy to expect anything else. The transition to shortstop has been great because they finally let him play short, which I don't know why they waited so long to do that. But he's their everyday shortstop, and I don't think he's going to look back. So this is probably the last year of dual eligibility. If any formats that are multi-years where that counts, that might hurt. But I thought they might get involved in the shortstop market this offseason, but they weren't going to pay those prices. They never would. But Edman is solid. I really like him as a player, and I fantasy value batting ninth might sting him a little bit, but I mean he's a good source for runs and stolen bases, and even 260 average it's good nowadays, so that's not going to hurt you either. So not the biggest OBP guy, but can't be perfect, right? You got to take a hit somewhere. Solid player. I don't know. You probably feel the same way. I don't know. An outside point of view on Edman, but he's playing in the WBC this year too, so he'll be away from the Cardinals for spring training for Korea, I believe. So.
Oh, interesting.
Their whole team is going to be gone for WBC. Arenado, Goldschmidt, Edman, Wainwright, Michaelis, Gallegos, I think. They've been hit hard by that. Tyler O'Neill.
That's a lot of guys away for a WBC. I always forget that's happening this year. I like Edman. I think he's an affordable source of steals. I think he maybe gets inflated a little bit because of those stolen bases and with the new bases this year and the new pickoff rules. stolen bases may be not at the premium that we've expected in the past.
And he's played 150 games plus the last 2 years too,
which is great. He will compile, but if he's not batting first, that's going to hurt. How many stolen?
It will, but I mean, you still got the big dogs in front of you, and with the guy that got leading off this year, he's going to score a lot of runs. Still, I think. Obviously, he's going to take a hit, not hitting lead off, but their lineup at the top is going to have some pop to it.
Yeah, it's arguably one of the best lineups in baseball.
It might. It's hard. I don't want to say that. I sound biased if I say it, but if you
I'll say it. Yeah, I mean, I'll take that over the Dodgers lineup. I'll take it over the bottom half of the Padres lineup.
The Dodgers outfield is bad. I don't know what they're trying to do, and I don't know if they're trying to go with Gavin Lux at short. But this isn't a Dodgers podcast, but I don't think that's going to work either. So
no. Let's move to the outfield let's talk about Juan Yepez first.
You skipped third baseman.
Oh, you know what? And that's kind of apropos because Nolan Arenado, I feel like, is overlooked a little bit.
Dude, so where's his ADP at this year?
Give me a second, I will find it for you.
Because he's like, I don't know why people are so like. I'll just take Arenado. Like the dude's driven.
He's 30. He's 36 in drafts since Christmas. So it's not too bad. It's gone up.
Every full season since 2015, he's knocked in 103 runs or more.
Yeah.
He's hit every full season since 2013. He's hit 30 home runs or more. And last year he had 30. The year before 34, and before that it was like 38 to 40. Obviously he's not Coors Field, but I mean he had a pretty Coors Field year. Last year was the best year of his career, and it wasn't in Coors Field. Cardinals have a really good philosophy. The hitting coach went to the Mets now, so prop your Mets hitters up a little bit. But the philosophy of hit the ball out front, pull it in the air. A lot of pull side power with Goldschmidt, a lot of pull side power. Arenado, I don't think, has ever hit a home run to opposite field in his career, I don't think. So a lot of it is the players you have, but also like a lot of pull side power on this team. And they play to their strengths. And I don't anticipate the Cardinals taking a hit for that, but I would prop up some Mets hitters because of that. I mean, I think a lot of the Cardinals hitters are pull heavy by nature, power wise, and I think that's just what it is. But Arenado is fantastic. I mean, what player? Is there another player in baseball that hit 30 home runs and struck out less than 12% of the time?
There can't be many of them. I mean, Arenado, I think, one gets overlooked a little bit because of his age and because he's no longer in Colorado. But, I mean, he's about as safe as you get. And I've been saying this a lot this draft season.
Best year of his career last year, probably.
Yeah, when I'm looking to draft a guy early, I want a guy with a high floor. And Arenado's got a high floor, so I'm all for it, especially with a drop-off at third base. Probably got the largest drop-off at any position. Getting a guy like Arenado is like the last elite guy. Is something I'm always for. Let's talk about Juan Yepez because he's a guy who's got a bat. He doesn't have much of a defensive position, and so I worry about his playing time. Are you worried about his playing time?
No, I think he's going to get the bulk of the DH duties. I do think they'll rotate guys through. Obviously, there's Nolan Gorman, which I think if he's not in Memphis improving his defense, I think he'll be the third baseman, the part-time second baseman, and mostly DH though. And then I think the other competition is going to come from Alec Burleson. Yepez wouldn't be a candidate for a platoon. He's a better hitter against righties than he is lefties historically. But my one gripe with Yepez is he doesn't walk very much, but I think as a hitter, I think he's fine. I mean, you're looking at if he gets a full season of at-bats, I would probably project him for 22, 25 homers with probably a 310, 320 OBP. Like, okay, you know what I mean? That works, right? Like, but yeah, he's like Jose Martinez in the field. You don't want him to play there.
That's a problem, especially when you've got so many other great bats that can use the DH for days off or to just rotate guys in and out.
Yeah.
Let's move on out into the outfield. Let's talk about Tyler O'Neill, who had a huge season in 2021. Last year, not so much, was derailed a lot by injury. What Tyler O'Neill do we see in 2023?
Well, from a physical standpoint, it sounds like a leaner one. They said
Okay.
they've tried to stay him away from he changed his offseason routine into getting more into the flexibility
I like that.
and not bulk up as much, which sounds great on paper, right? And he's got the background that knows everything about the fitness part with his dad being Mr. Canada or Mr. World or something from Canada, like an insane bodybuilder. You can Google him; it's fantastic. But I mean, he had a down year last year, but he still had a 14-14 season for you in fantasy. Doesn't kill you by any means. I don't think anybody expected him to hit 286 again. But at the same time, I mean, if he hits 245, he's going to pop, 25, 30 home runs. Like, his big thing is the soft tissue injuries. And if he can stay on the field, it's health things considered. Like, if he's the Cardinals' third best hitter this year, they're going to walk to the playoffs because if he means he's healthy. And if he's healthy, last year they had a little problems offensively trying to fill that void because Corey Dickerson was the left fielder after O'Neill went down, and it's quite an offensive drop off from O'Neill to Dickerson. Dickerson doesn't really do anything well; he just does stuff, and O'Neill is and O'Neill's actually not that bad in the outfield either. He doesn't have a lot of range, but he gets to what he gets to, and he makes the plays. And his walk rate took a positive steps. He struck out less. He just ran into injury concerns, and if he stays on the field, man, he's the easy bet to return draft value if he stays healthy. Where's he going now? Probably too high though, right?
I mean, the hard part is outfield is so shallow this year that you're not getting a ton of a discount. It's pick 114 right now. He's the 25th outfielder off the board, and so you're pretty much playing like market value for him. That being said, like, you're right. If he stays healthy, I think he is a deal right now because he could be a 25-25 guy or a 30-25 guy. And he has the best
homers wise, right? I mean, steals wise, I think he tops out at 15 still.
Yeah, he stole 14 in half a season last year. Now you're gonna add in the larger bases, the new pickoff rules. Like, maybe 25 is ambitious, but like he could be 30-20.
He's got the skill for it. I don't know if he's got the usage rate or whatever the baseball equivalency for that is.
A lot of it depends on what the Cardinals would even let him do, right? I mean, so best zone contact rate of his career last year.
Yeah, he visibly made very good adjustments at the plate. It was just a matter of staying healthy, and a player like him. Like, it goes the same way when you come up with prospects coming up. Like, guys that have contact issues like him, you have to play every day to make games. You have to. You can't go a couple of days without playing, and then you can't build on what you're doing. And the injuries work the same way as with him. Keeping him off the field keeps him out of his groove. I mean, look at the year he put up in 2021.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll probably go down as his best season, but I mean, that's anybody's best season, really. That's what he's capable of. If you show that skill, you own that skill, as far as I'm concerned, and it's there. No reason he's not going to fall apart at age 27. So, I mean, I'm in on O'Neill again. Again, he's the key for them this year. If he's their third best hitter, they win 97 games and walk to the playoffs. Honestly, But if he has health concerns again, they do have the depth to cover it, but they don't have Tyler O'Neill available to cover Tyler O'Neill. Which sure, right. But
what about Lars Nootbaar? I mean, he's another guy who looks like a driveline dude. I saw some video of him, hitting without his shirt off this off season. He looks like he is just stacked in terms of his muscle. He's working hard in the off season. Clearly, he's becoming a kind of a very trendy sleeper.
I don't think he's a sleeper. I'm not going to say names, but there's people that I see on Twitter that just make me roll my eyes every time I see them write something, and they're big on Nootbaar, which makes me sad because I don't want them to be right.
I don't either. I was big on him last year, and he paid off towards the end of the season, but now I'm gonna have to pay full freight.
Well, here's a secret I don't think everybody knows. He is going to hit leadoff for them this year, so keep that in mind. He's going to hit leadoff until he fails, and he hasn't shown him any reason, to think that. He works out with Nolan Arenado in California in the offseason. Like, they're tight. that stuff matters. Arenado's a crazy human being, competitor-wise. Newbar's up there too. The power speed blend is there. Another guy that's, if he plays every day, he's going to pop 25 home runs. It's no question about it. He's going to steal probably 10 to 12 bags. On base percentage, probably push 360 this year if he hits 250, which I think he probably can. You can go look at everybody's Twitter feed and they'll tell you why they like him. I mean, they're all right. Everything they're saying is correct. It's just, I think when too many people are in on him, it makes me worried because it's like, number one, there's no value in drafting him now because he's
still going just outside the top 200.
He won't though.
I know.
Because once everybody finds out that he's hitting leadoff, because if you look at everyone's favorite roster website does not have him hitting leadoff, but he is going to bat leadoff, and he's going to hit in front of Donovan, Goldschmidt, Arenado, O'Neill, Contreras. Yeah. That's a good spot. And when you can do everything like he can, he's a very good player, and he can also play center field in case one of the other guys on this list that we're going to talk about continues to do what he's doing. Newbar will slide over to center, and then they have the number one prospect in the minors that can probably slide into right field. So they're not in a bad spot. And Newbar is a key to what they're doing because Newbar is the backup plan at another spot if needed. So
let's talk about that other guy then. Dylan Carlson has really, really struggled. He was a fan favorite of a lot of people when he was coming up from the minors. I never really liked him.
I loved him.
Yeah. So do you think he's still young? Can he turn it around?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he hits the ball hard enough. And I think that matters. And I disregarded that information coming up through the minors. And because that was kind of in the time where that was kind of fresh information when he was coming up to the minors, like all the batted ball data. I'm like, it's just everyone's too wrapped up in the batted ball data. Because I watched him a lot of Memphis games, and he was good. He did everything well. A lot of Springfield games, he was really, really good. In the majors, I can't tell you how many times he hits the top of the ball and pounds it in the ground, and the pitcher flips it to first and he's out, and it's just non-competitive at bats. He beat him with fastballs, I think the Cardinals have kind of put themselves in a box with Carlson now because then all this stupid, they're not correct, but all the stupid, we won't trade Carlson for Soto bullshit that happened last year. Like that doesn't help him because now everyone thinks now all the meatheads think that he's the reason why they don't have Juan Soto, which isn't the case. But if you look at last year's team, they really couldn't trade him because they already traded Bader. Who else is going to play center? Because Newbar wasn't established yet until about that time, right? Mm-hmm. And then you already had O'Neill out, so you would have had Dickerson, Newbar, Yepez in the outfield. That's not going to work.
No.
So you had
and Soto.
Well, sure, but then Soto won't help you on that aspect defensively. But yeah, I guess you're right about that. But Carlson is a really good defender in the outfield, but he's got the skills to run more and hit for more power. I just think the quality of at bats is poor. Yeah, maybe that's something that happens as it changes, but he's very likely to swing at a pitcher's pitch and get himself out than he is to wait for a pitch to drive. That's kind of a philosophy change. Hopefully that clicks, but until it does, I'll be the last one back in probably. But as a real team, and how they're constructed as a defensive first team, I think he fits them well. But I guess the question is, would you rather have Bader or him and Montgomery? And I think I'd rather have him and Montgomery still. Yeah. But it's a trade-off you have to keep thinking about because that's why they did it, because Carlson's emerges as a center fielder. So, and but to be fair, he did battle some injuries last year as well. So, I liked him a lot as a prospect, and I still kind of do, but I'm going to keep him off my fantasy teams this year because he burned me a lot last year.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's talk about the big prospect that Jordan Walker is. We saw him in AFL. He when he wants to be on, he looks like the real deal. Any concerns, and when do you think he's up?
Concerns? Well, here's the thing. I'll start with the second question first. When do you think he's up? We already talked about how half their roster is going to be playing in the WBC this year during spring training, so he's going to get as many at-bats as he can handle. The Cardinals are a team that if somebody is up and ready, they will carry them. They're not going to play the service time games. They never really have. That's one thing I do like how they bring guys up when they're ready. They don't care about service time stuff. They don't care about this is what they do. And if Walker, from everything I've been reading, if he hits in spring training and if he's one of their best 26, they're going to carry him. Now, what that means is he's going to have to play every day. You're not going to carry him to be a part-time player. That wouldn't be wise because he's, an absolute stud in the making. A 30 home run bat, the short swing makes me think that strikeouts aren't going to really shoot up at the big league level. The only thing he does struggle with is sliders away, but he's going to have to figure that out. And you're not really going to learn that in AAA because all the good sliders aren't really in AAA. All the good sliders are kind of up in the big leagues. These guys that can throw for strikes, right? That's kind of the different maker for a lot of guys. And so I'm trying to pull up my report because I wrote the report for Walker for Prospects Live, shameless plug, but it's double plus raw power in games, which we saw in Arizona. We saw every bit of it. He turns on any pitch, but the swing also produces natural power to right center. When he catches the ball on the backside and gets extended, we saw that so much in Arizona when he hits the ball and it's backwards for you, but this is what it shoots off to right center field and just carries. He hit the ball off the right center field wall, I think 3 or 4 times in a couple games we saw him play.
Yeah.
Good pitch recognition skills, consistent hard contact, true ball field's power is not a park you can't hit the ball out of. Consistent barrel control. He cut his strikeouts by 6% after his jump to AA. So he struck out more in high A than he did in AA, which is an encouraging sign. And he's also converted to the outfield, and he doesn't look terrible out there. It looks like he's passable for now because he's not going to play third anyways in this organization. Mm-hmm. So they made the move to right field. He looks like he can handle it. He's got an arm for it, certainly. I really, really love Jordan Walker. Again, I'm trying to rein it in because I am a Cardinals fan, but he will be in our top 3 probably when we release our prospect list at the end of the year.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And the other 2 guys are already in the majors that would be in front of him. So I think there's relative safety because of the strikeouts aren't terrible for what you think of for a young power hitter. The kid went to Duke. You don't go to Duke for being an athlete. You go to Duke because you're smart and also an athlete. Like it's not the same as going to other schools, right? I could not be more impressed. His showing in Arizona was impressive. For my money, he was the best player we saw out there. I don't think there was any doubt.
No.
The only other guys I'd consider would be Kierstad, but I think Walker was head and shoulders even better than him.
Yeah, I agree.
I hesitant to get too excited because, he looks like the complete deal for now. Like he's going to steal 10+ bases too. He's fast and takes such long strides, covers so much ground. Like I'm excited for him, and I think there's a good chance he gets a majority of his bats in the big leagues this year, and I think that's exciting. And I think, but if that happens, he's kind of the Tyler O'Neill insurance I alluded to earlier. And he's also kind of the Dylan Carlson insurance too, because Newpark can play center and Walker slides into right. Him and Alec Burleson, which I think Burleson needs a shot too because he can hit. But yeah, I'm trying to contain my excitement for Walker, but I already know kind of how you feel about it too. I think he's
It's just a question for me of when he's up, and
they'll push. I mean, they're not gonna hold them. Let me rephrase that. They're not going to hold him back. I'll say that.
Yeah. I think if he goes out and crutches in spring training, I think he's got a really good chance of making that team.
And like I said, a point that we didn't consider is he's going to have the opportunity because all the big guys are going to be playing for Team USA, so whatever else teams. So.
His ADP is already pretty high, but
is it? I haven't done a draft this year yet, so
I think it's around 150.
Holy cow for Walker! 150? That's too high.
Well, part of the issue. It's 260.
There you go.
Is he's third base eligible? He will be 150 by the time drafts come around. I promise you, because third base is so gross that people are going to be like, well, I'll take a scrub and then I'll pair him with Walker and then Walker will take over that job.
Yeah,
and plus again gain outfield eligibility, which is even worse than third base. So. I think people are gonna. I think he'll get pushed up. So 262 in draft champions since Christmas, which isn't a lot of drafts, but still, it's already a price to pay.
My one negative aspect on Walker sometimes is he gets a little bit pull heavy on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
He'll ground out a lot to the left side. It's a timing thing. You have to make the adjustment. But, I mean, the bat is through the zone so long because she's already kind of starts open and it just kind of – it's real short, quick swing. And he's so strong that it's fun to watch him play. I've watched him so much. It's been fun to watch him. He's a lock for 30 home runs if he gets the at-bats. Even he's a lock for 25, I'd say, this year if he came up and played the whole year, honestly. In his prime seasons, he's going to hit 35 to 40 home runs. I'm not going to blink. It's going to be second nature.
No. All right, let's move on into some of the pitching that you guys have. Let's start with I'm just going to throw Adam Wainwright and Miles Mikolas in together. Are you drafting them in fantasy? I feel like they're actually a little bit underrated.
Yeah, I think guys like that are always undervalued because they don't do anything well. But Wainwright at home is a must start against anybody, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Mikolas is a must start almost every time out as it is anyways because he's so – the thing with those two guys is they throw strikes. And you can even lump Jordan Montgomery into this group. Those three don't walk anybody. And Wainwright had his issues at the end of the season because he had an injury that led to a mechanical thing and kind of got him out of whack. And he's also, 41 years old?
Yeah.
So there's also that. I thought he was going to retire, but he didn't, which is good. I mean, he's good to have around. I don't want him around as my SP1, but he's around. The rotation, man, is I think Wainwright, Mikolas, and Montgomery, I can already kind of write down on what you're going to get from them, and I bet you I'm pretty close. I bet you it's 3.2 to 3.5 ERA for all three guys, probably 7.5 to 8 Ks per 9 for Montgomery. Mikolas and Wainwright will be down to about 6 to 7, and they'll both walk under. All three of them will walk under 3 guys to start. Montgomery will probably walk 2, Mikolas 2, Wainwright maybe 2.5. That's what's going to – they're kind of boring, but it's kind of nice to know what you're going to get because I think that's what those guys are. And their entire starting rotation except for Steven Matz is a free agent after the end of the season. So and so that's something to watch for. And then there's, Jack Flaherty is the elephant in the room because everyone says he's healthy. He seems like he's healthy. He was playing flag football in California the other day with Mookie Betts. So
that scares the crap out of me.
So when he plays for the Dodgers next year, he's going to be, he'll be ready to go for them. But he wants his time is. If they could have traded him, they would have. He's not going to re-sign here. So,
are you drafting him this year? Because if he's healthy,
he's their number one starter. Yeah. Sure. I'll never forget what he did in what year was that? 2019 was it? Seems so long ago, but he was fantastic. He was. I think in the second half of the season, he was up there with Jake Arrieta, pitch for pitch, like he was like the best pitcher in baseball. Remember that? Those two names. I'm really big on him if he's healthy, but he's got to be healthy because he's the fastball, slider, curveball, sinker. Like it's all there. It's everything you want. The frame, the durability is the question. Last year, his command fell apart, but I don't really. Excuse me. Last year, he also missed a lot of time and got rushed back, and even made a bullpen appearance at the end of the season to see what he would do in the playoffs. So, I don't know, man. Like, I'll take him if the price is right, because I think who's he going around? Like, what's the 3 pitchers in each direction that he's?
Well, that is, I believe, he is going around Alex Cobb, Aaron Ashby, Patrick Sandoval, Frankie Montas, so the guys going ahead of him. Behind him, Nathan Eovaldi, Miles Mikolas, Hunter Brown.
He's in the right area.
Yeah, I mean it's after pick 200.
I would probably take him almost over most of those guys that you said.
I think in a shallow league, I'm definitely doing it. Right, like in a league where like, hey, if he gets hurt again, I throw him on my IL and I pick up the next dude. There'll be replacement. But in a deeper league, like when you and I are drafting TGFBI in a couple months,
he might be a guy to avoid there.
I think he's a guy to avoid in 15-team leagues because there's just nobody left on the waiver wire that you're going to replace with that kind of potential. Right. Give me the guys that
give me Mikolas, who you just
give me Mikolas. I know I'm going to get 200 innings from. Like,
close, yeah, right. Flaherty could. I mean, the last 3 years one of them was the COVID year, but the last 3 years he hasn't topped 78 innings. So that's.
What about Steven Matz? He was the guy I was really high on last year. He's ground ball guy going to the best infield defense in the majors and one of the best parks to pitch in baseball. But he just couldn't stay on the field, which is something that has plagued him throughout his career. Is this a year to draft Steven Matz?
The K's spiked up last year, but he also pitched out of the bullpen. So so got to kind of self-adjust for that. I personally hate watching him pitch. I can tell you that. His games are not very fun to watch. But he throws strikes. He fits their MO. Like they're going to be really. They don't issue a lot of walks in rotation. Like everyone in that, besides Flaherty, who was hurt last year, but everyone else is going to be sub 2.5 walks per 9, which is a good recipe for success. And then, like you said, Matt's historically has been a good ground ball guy. He really wasn't last year, but he ran into some bad luck last year, and he had a couple blow up outings last year that I remember. One of them was against like the Pirates. I think he got absolutely destroyed. But yeah, I don't think I mind drafting Matt. I can't imagine the price tag is very high.
No, $337 right now.
They're paying him. Oh wow, that's a steal.
Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah.
That's he makes too much, and I wish this wasn't a thing, but for the Cardinals, he makes too much money to pitch out of the bullpen, so they're going to start him. That's how they do it.
And that's good for fantasy.
Yeah, and hey, I'm just happy because there's no Dakota Hudson in the rotation anymore. So
there you go.
I could not be happier about that.
Any other guys that might come up that might be interesting?
Matthew Liberatore, but I don't like him. I don't think he's very good, unfortunately. Yeah. I think he's kind of caught in between sinker, four-seamer, and kind of doesn't throw enough strikes with the fastball, so then you can kind of take the big hook. You can spit on it because you can't use it all the time. The one arm that I do really, really like is Gordon Graceffo. I don't see him pitching very much. He's not draftable because I don't think he's going to be – I don't think he's not even on the 40-man for one, and I don't think he's he topped out at Double-A last year, but he's their best – closest to the majors pitching prospect. Liberatore has obviously been in the majors, but I think Graceffo's ceiling is higher. I think he's probably better now, to be honest. Connor Thomas pitched well in the AFL, but I don't see that really working too much in the big leagues for a long-term stretch. He throws a lot of strikes, so he kind of fits their MO, gets the ball on the ground, so he could do well for stints, but I mean, he throws like 91, 92 with a slider, so he might be rough. But Graceffo, touches 101, lives in the mid-90s, 95 to 96, sits 97 earlier in the couple starts. Really good changeup, really good breaking ball. Like I think he's a mid-rotation starter, but if injuries hit this year, I don't think they'll hesitate to use him because of what I alluded to earlier. 4 of their 5 starters are free agents at this offseason, so he would definitely factor into the plans for 2024. So why not use him in 23 if he works? Because you're already, you know what I mean? You're setting yourself better for 24 if you need him. So I think they'll go that route. You're not going to see Hentz this year, obviously. He's another big name pitching prospect. Cooper Jerpy, their first round pick in the draft this year, won't be up this year, but he's an exciting guy too. I kind of like. But yeah.
What about let's move into the bullpen. Ryan Helsley, is he the guy, or are they gonna kind of
No, he's the guy. He's the dude. Gallegos is he'll get his share, but Helsley will get the bulk of the saves. And Helsley's probably the best reliever, might be the best non-Edwin Diaz closer right now going. If he would have told wouldn't have tried to catch that ball against the Pirates the last series of the year with his hand, they might not have got swept against the Phillies, and because they had that lead in Game 1, and he came out and couldn't throw strikes because he couldn't feel his fingers, which might be an important thing if you're trying to pitch. But
I've heard that is important.
Yeah, Jordan Hicks is still there too. I'd like to see them add to the bullpen. They need a lefty at least. I don't trust Cabrera. And Jojo Romero, Packy Naughton, not really viable guys from the left side. Andre Palante has worked high leverage spots while he's probably not a fantasy relevant guy because he doesn't do any strike. He doesn't strike guys out, gives up a lot of hits. He's a really sinker heavy guy. So he's nice to have when there's traffic on the bases and get out of the inning, the double play guy. So he'll work some leverage innings. I don't recommend it. In fantasy, really the only guys are Helsley and Gallegos in this bullpen. I don't see anybody else. They did pick up Zuniga from the Dodgers on a minor league deal. That's kind of intriguing. He will get every chance to break camp. They added him to the 40-man when they signed him as a minor league free agent. So they got that going for them. But, yeah, pitching staff, while I think they got the best lineup in the NL, pitching staff is not great.
Yeah.
I would do this because I don't care what people think. There's a starting pitcher on the trade market right now that's making $22.5 million paid by another team that would be this team's far and away ace. So I don't care about the off-field stuff. I'll be the first to admit I don't care. I'm not the judge. I'm not a jury. He served his time through Major League Baseball. So as far as I'm concerned, he should be in the clear. But
yeah, no comment from me on that one.
No, that's just the way I see it because
I think any team.
He wasn't convicted of a crime either, which is also an important thing to remember.
Well, I mean,
no, I get what you're saying.
Because you're not convicted doesn't mean you didn't commit the crime.
Absolutely not. But it does.
That being said,
I'm defending him too much. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But if I'm in the business of winning games, I do it.
And some team I'm sure will. I
don't think anybody will. I think he's going to play in Asia this year. Honestly,
he potentially could.
He'll be back though.
I'm sure he will. Unfortunately. That being said, that's all the time we got for this episode. Because I have to go run and record another one of these things.
Oh yeah.
Matt, thank you so much for joining me. Remind everybody where you can reach social media, and then plug everything you got going on at Prospects Live.
MD Top FWFB Prospects Live. We have team prospect list coming out. Top 30s, top 5 are available for free on the website with full reports. 6 through 10 are the names. The Patreon has everybody, all the top 30s written out. We have Robo Scout on our Patreon, which is outstanding for Dynasty League tools. If you're not using it, you should be. We have a top 1,000 for Dynasty. Major League and minor league players all mixed together, like your number one stop shop. Like, would I trade this guy for this guy? We all 4 of us, me, Dylan, Eddie, Jordan Rosenblum, and Drew Wheeler. So 5 of us went through the list and we ranked out probably 1,500 guys and came out with the top 1,000. It's pretty good. I like the way it turned out. We have FYPD draft stuff coming out this month. And pitch comp tools for prospects, hitter comp tool for prospects is already out. It's the one-stop shop for Dynasty Baseball, and that's kind of what we're trying to make. So hopefully you're subscribed to Patreon. If not, you should.
Absolutely, definitely. Like I said, it's my number one spot for all my dynasty related and prospect related news. You can follow me on Twitter at Justin Mason FWFB. Email me at the show, friendsfantasybenefits@gmail.com. I'm writing daily at Fangraphs. I'm doing these 30 team previews in 30 days on the Sleeper on the Bus podcast, on the TGFBI podcast. And if you want a chance to get a free RotoWire shirt, I'm giving away a RotoWire shirt every month for a 5-star review. So give us a 5-star review to this podcast. It'll get you entered into win a drawing. Give you away one each month until the start of the season. And I really, really appreciate all of those who've given us 5-star reviews recently. For Matt and myself, thank you for listening. A fantastic baseball offseason.